Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith Andrew, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network. This is episode 632. That's right, 632. I'm here with professional actor and former veteran of the United States, Mr. Christian. I just want to say thank you for your service, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Now, the first question I want to talk to you about, the first subject is social media. Words of wisdom I want to talk to you about. But one thing you mentioned off the air I do want to talk about real fast is you have your own business in New York. What motivated you to start your own business, and what can you tell us about it?
Well, actually, I already had a business in Florida at one point, a construction company. It's at the point that being injured really started to affect me that I realized I probably can't do that for any length of time, especially with it being in construction. I was working towards becoming a general contractor, passed all the tests, and the state of Florida changed their requirements on me at the last minute, which made it virtually impossible to get it. So that's when I started getting into acting, and my brothers actually approached me with an idea they had. Of course, my brother, True, he's up in New York, and he's very passionate about cold brew. So he approached, him and my brother Chad were mulling over business ideas, and of course cold brew came up. And it wasn't just about cold brew; it was about quality that you don't see a lot, which I found intriguing. Then they approached me about it, and we all decided to go in business together because we all have a passion for quality. So they created some very strict criteria that they wanted for their beans, which I thought was interesting. Are you a coffee drinker?
Occasionally, I have. I like Starbucks. I'm a big fan of Starbucks, to be honest.
All right. Our cold brew deals with specific criteria. One of which is it's organic. It has to be single source. We want to know exactly where it's coming from. It has to be high grown. Now, the reason it has to be high grown is because not only are the beans tend to be more concentrated, they get more nutrients. The soil isn't as nearly as stripped, as if it would be in a plot, a larger plot down below. We've been getting into a lot of beans lately that have contributed directly to the people that harvest them, which I find pretty fascinating. Because they're single source, you can go through and you can say, okay, where did this bean come from? And you can find out about the people that harvest it and how it helps their economy, which is pretty neat.
No, absolutely. Now, what about any words of wisdom of people who want to follow in your footsteps, join the Marines? What words of wisdom would you have to give them, or would like to give them?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I would say that if they want to join the Marine Corps, or they're just thinking about the military in general.
Well, both.
Both. I would say that the Marine Corps helps you really be resourceful. There might be a lot of times where you have to make something out of nothing. Of course, I appreciate Marine leadership, and I especially appreciate the Marines that are willing to take care of their own people and lead by example. I would say there has a tendency to be much more discipline in the Marine Corps. So if you are missing focus, and if you're looking for leadership, I would say there's a pretty heavy emphasis on it in the Marine Corps, and that would probably be a good idea. Um, and of course, boot camp. Everybody they whip you into shape, of course, but it's definitely a mind game, and you got to learn how to play it. And playing it is just focusing on what you have to do and doing it to the best of your ability, and not questioning necessarily all the time what you're doing, as much as just focusing on what you have to do and getting it done. So,
No, I agree with you. And it's funny you mentioned mind game and playing the game. My dad always tells me, and tells my whole family, life is about playing a game. You just need, it's like, life is like a game of chess. You need to be two steps ahead of that person. And it's either you win or you're either going to lose. So, but like you said, it's a game and you have to play it.
absolutely, absolutely. So,
The next question I do want to ask you is social media. With everything you accomplished in your acting career, do you think social media has helped you? Or do you think it's just there to make noise? But at the same time, because you are in the Army, how did you have social media, and did that interfere with your military training at all?
well, I was actually I went in the Marine Corps for 5 years. Then I joined the Air Force Reserve after that for roughly 4.5 before I was medically retired. Um, I wouldn't say social media had a big impact on me per se, because it was just coming out at the time. I went in the Marine Corps in 2002, got out in '07. So I wouldn't say it had a big impact. I do think it has now. I do think it has a big impact on recruiting, obviously, uh, because any platform that you get to share, more about what you can do, and what the military does is excellent for recruiting.
Right.
I don't think it had a big impact on me, though, personally. Obviously, it does now as an actor. It's huge. Uh, and being able to sell yourself, as an actor is imperative. So I do think it does now. It's still something I'm working on. But, and of course, having a cold brew company, uh, you know, up in your neck of the woods, social media is imperative as well for business. So,
No, absolutely. Now it's the last 5 minutes left and counting. I'm going to pass the show over to you. Was there anything you wanted to know? Anything you want to talk about, promote? This is your time.
well, I did want to say that Gunner Wing and everybody that was at Apopka High School when I went through ROTC around the year 2000, they all really had an impact on me. Um, and of course, it made a lasting impression. And I wouldn't be in the position I am today had I not got that influence. Um, let's see. Is there anything else you'd like me to talk on?
Yeah, it's your time. It's whatever you want to share.
Okay. Um, let's see here. I do think that as a whole, that people should realize that it's really important to go after what you're passionate about. Um, Even if you feel that it doesn't necessarily make money. And to be honest with you, I struggled for a long time uh, as an actor, feeling that I might not get to the point where I make a lot of money, of course. But even now, like with social media, what's interesting is people are finding new ways to create business opportunities through the passion that they love. So I would say just don't give up on it. And there's a lot of times that if you have a second plan in place, you're going to you're not going to hit your first plan as effectively as you could. Um, there's a saying: if you want to take the island, you burn the boats.
Right.
So having a backup plan would be contrary to that. You got to give it all you got, and you can't hold back. Um, you can't allow for something else to be a distraction. You have to go for it. Um, and it might take, of course, it takes actors 5, 10, 15, sometimes 20 years. Um, but the important thing is sticking with it and getting better all the time. And I guess that's what would be my advice is to just continue to stick with it. And to don't accept second best because you'll regret it.
No,
You'll be, I tried to, when I got hurt. And it ate at me for years before I just said, I'm done feeling like this. I don't want to have this regret anymore. I'm going after it and I'm doing it. And it's been, one of the most liberating experiences of my life. Just putting aside excuses. Keith, we can make them, 100 excuses, right? But you're doing it, right? I'm doing it, and anybody else can do it. So I guess that's what I'd have to say.
No, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Now, I do have a couple questions or wrapping up after. Okay, I just had to press the button real fast. Do have a couple questions here. We're wrapping up our interview, and we were going to do a special Q&A right after for 20 minutes. But the first thing I want to ask you is social media. How can people follow you on social media? Are you on LinkedIn, Twitter, and obviously you're on Instagram. That's how we met. Obviously, we met on Facebook too. So right. Facebook and Instagram. But is there any other websites that you would recommend that you can also meet people and network on?
As an actor?
Well, for acting or in just networking in general.
Networking in general. Most of the stuff I know is acting. Of course, I'm a member of OIF, Orlando Independent Filmmakers. Of course, they're fantastic. They have challenges all the time, film challenges. You can get involved pretty easily through them. I take classes at Truthful Acting Studios, and they are fantastic. The Meisner program really allows you to dive deep into yourself and really experience what things mean to you. As a matter of fact, I definitely contribute their training to helping me get out of my own head and really start pushing forward. Because dealing with any disability kind of it can really mess with you, cause doubt. But being able to continue to put one step forward in front of the other, even if you're not getting a lot of acting jobs per se at the moment, if you're training, you're still progressing and you're still working on your skills. So social media, you can follow me at, it actually began as a joke, pizza.gains, Gains. That's my Instagram name. And of course, my Facebook is Christian Vallejo. And feel free to add me if you'd like. I'd love to give anybody advice on how I got started, what I'm continuing to do. As far as groups, talent management for actors is pretty good. There's a ton of different resources available. But just getting involved with even a film challenge, and getting out there and networking is important. Networking is one of the most important things you can do as an actor. And I'm sure for you, Keith, networking is essential. Um, yeah, that'd be my advice about social media. Just it doesn't matter where you're at in the journey. Even if you're starting out, I know Gary Vee talks a lot about this. Even if you're starting out and you document your progress along the way, um, by the time you get those big breaks, whether you get on, an interview that gets well known, or whether you link up with somebody who's well known, they can come back and explore your journey from the beginning, and it really helps people connect, and it helps them connect to you, because you're your own brand. So it's just really important to not let where you're at halt your progress and your documentation, and you just keep moving forward, and you will get those breaks as long as you don't give up. So.
No, absolutely. Now, I do have I can't speak. I have a couple questions for you off the air. But
Okay.
wrapping up, when I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your first honest opinion? After being a guest, how do you feel now? And what do you recommend it to other people?
Well, it was interesting. When you approached me, we were talking about disability. And so there's not a lot of people, or at least I don't believe there are, there is some now that are disabled and are really coming out and really just doing their passion regardless. So we got some motivational speakers that are, of course, outstanding. So I guess I just didn't know what to expect, because there's not a lot of them. And there's not a lot of people that approach, I guess, in the manner that you do either. So I thought it was interesting, and then I started checking out your page and how you like to just really dive in to different people and what their motivation is and stuff like that. I thought it was really cool. So yeah, it gave me I got a pretty good impression. So.
No, I really appreciate it. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air. About wrapping up our interview segment, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road.
Thank you. Absolutely. I appreciate it.
I'm Linda Collins.
Hi, I'm Marissa Joy Davis.
This is Michelle Wong. And
I'm Nancy Rose.
My name is Brandy Hunt. And
hello, my name is Raven Wynn.
Hi there. My name is Giovanna Vidal.
Hi, I'm Monica Thomas.
Hi, I'm Paisley Blackburn.
I'm Ashley Burgess.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Abney.
Hi, I'm Sharon Spank.
Hey, this is Samantha Moore.
Hi, I'm Melody Jones.
Hi, my name is Becky Yee.
Hi, you're watching the Keith Andrew Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Keith Andrew Network. That's right, it's the Keith Andrew Network. And it is October, and everyone knows what October is. It's Halloween month. That means every guest who's on my show can get to dress up, dress however they want, wear some makeup or not. It's Halloween. We're going to do a whole bunch of great things on the Keith Andrew Network. And also, December is Christmas. Christmas, Hanukkah, all that fun stuff. And we will have a holiday theme for the holidays this December. But let's have some fun with this. So, my name is Keith Andrew. I am the creator of the Keith Andrew Network. And today we have a special professional actor and first time ever on my show, actually second time ever on my show, a former veteran of the United States. You are a disabled veteran, and I just want to say it's a real honor and privilege to have you as a guest. And my guest is Mr. Christian.
Thank you, Keith.
No, the honor's all mine. For people who want to know what my talk show's about, even if they heard this for 6.5 years, a message proves the point. And people are like, what the hell am I wearing? The whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. and at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. And to prove to them you still amount to something. So that being said, half hour, 33 minutes of your time. You can say anything you want, talk about whatever you want. We will do a special 20-minute Q&A at the very end where we get to interact with our fan base on Instagram, if you have time for that. But stay focused on our interview. For people who want to know, you are a disabled veteran. And first off, I want to say thank you for your service. And also, you are a professional actor. Or actress. But I want to say a professional actor. But with that being said, we have a lot to talk about. So the first question I was going to ask you was, how was life growing up? And were you a study nerd or party animal?
Life was okay growing up. It was kind of difficult. I grew up in a poor family, so finances were hard to come by. So I actually learned how to work on vehicles with my grandfather, and I also learned carpentry growing up, and just learned a lot about working with my hands. So that's definitely benefited me. It's always helpful. So things weren't always the easiest, but making it through that and just learning skills that you can use, later on, it's always helped. So.
No, absolutely. What about in college? What did you major in?
Finance. I actually had a plan to do banking, and I was acting in 5th grade, actually, and I developed a love for it, but, sometimes it can seem like one of those goals that isn't really practical. So for a while there growing up, especially in high school, I was doing stuff with musical theater and vocals, but kind of had to get a backup plan going. So, then I joined the military and started going to school for finance and business. So just as a backup plan. And also I wanted to be an example to my daughter. So it's more of a personal goal now than.
No, absolutely. Now, the first question I want to ask you is, did you become an actor first, or were you in the military first?
Well, I did some acting, like I said, in high school. I did some musical theater type stuff, and I had been in some in chorus, and I sang Candlelight at Disney, and did some performing. So I did that before the military. I joined the military knowing that it was a goal, and even if I didn't stay in it for a full 20 or whatever, that it's something that I wanted to be a part of and something that would add to my life. So I did a little bit of acting beforehand. It's something I'd considered taking seriously, but it's also difficult to really get a grasp that you can make it as a career. Sometimes it seems out of reach. So I kind of had a backup plan for a while and then just decided to go all in. So.
No, absolutely. Now, who influenced you, or who influenced you, and what influenced you to become an actor, and how many years have you been acting?
Well, like I said, I was Charlie Brown in the Charlie Brown Christmas play at Fern Creek when I was in elementary school. And ever since then, I knew it was a part of me. It was, off and on. I didn't really, I had a passion for it, but it's, like I said, it's to stick with it, kind of seemed out of reach at times until I just really started getting real real serious about it, and just decided to go for it. So, but I've been acting since the fifth grade. I had a pretty big gap, and then I did some stuff in high school, and then did a few plays. I didn't do anything in the military, but as soon as I came out, I came back down here and started to get involved again. So.
No, that's really cool. And now the next question I was going to ask you is, who influenced, same question as the first one, but we're going to trade it a little bit. Who influenced you to become a part of the military, and what were some of your favorite memories of being in the military?
Well, when I was in high school, I did Marine Corps ROTC, and I was always attracted to the Marine Corps for the discipline. I always thought it was interesting how much younger they had a tendency to look compared to other people their age. And, of course I know now that that's because they, exercise. And when you put the uniform on, you have a sense of pride. You take care of yourself, and you groom properly, and you learn really how to take care of yourself. And that always impressed me. In ROTC, I had a Sergeant Major Hoffman, who left a pretty big impression on me. He ended up passing away, unfortunately. But he was he just had that leadership deep down that, some people have it and some people don't. And I also had Colonel Samolin, and he was an awesome leader also. And I just knew I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to have that in my life. I admired those traits out of them, and knew that it's something that I wanted for myself. So.
No, absolutely. Now the next question I was going to ask you is about disabilities, because you mentioned you're disabled and a veteran. And what exactly happened to you in the Army?
It was the Marine Corps, and actually I didn't have direct combat injuries from direct combat. I had an issue where it looks like now, if you're really flexible as a child, your joints have a tendency to stay flexible. It's called hypomobility syndrome. I'm looking into the possibility of that right now, where the integrity of the soft tissue isn't up to par with other people. So basically, when I was doing PT, I would be getting hurt randomly and couldn't figure out why. Ended up getting some arthritis, and at the time I thought that I wanted to stay in. So it was very difficult. Basically watching my body fall apart and me not wanting it to be, I wanted to stay in. So, kind of losing a career, realizing I was being redirected, seeing other doors opening, led me to where I'm at now, and just deciding to, after I was medically retired, I decided to just pursue acting full time.
All right. What did you like about being a part of the Marines? And have you won any medals? Or earned any medals, for that matter?
I do have several medals, just like we all do, military. I deployed once. I deployed to Turkey. That wasn't too difficult, of course. I didn't see direct combat, so. But it's, I'm sorry, can you repeat what you asked before? I know you said something about the medals.
Yes, what were some of your favorite medals? Let me rephrase that. What were some of your favorite medals that you ever earned? I know you don't win medals are earned.
I didn't get too many medals that I earned aside from just the basics that you do, national defense, good conduct, global war on terrorism. Probably what I earned that had the most impact was my rifle badge, because I put a lot of effort into, we all learn to shoot, of course, as Marines, every Marine a rifleman. But, it's something that I took very seriously and got a second and third award for in the Marine Corps. So I was always really proud of that. Just having the uniform on, of course, gave a sense of pride.
Now, let me ask you this. Well, obviously, it sounds like a stupid question, but obviously, your daughter uses you for inspiration, and you are her hero. How would you feel if she followed in your footsteps about joining the Marines?
Well, it's funny you say that. I haven't really thought a lot about that. She's arguably the most extroverted person I've ever known. So I don't think that would be too far-fetched, to be honest with you. She's usually out front. Whenever she's got kids around her, she always makes friends, but she always ends up leading the pack somehow. So that wouldn't be too far-fetched at all for her to want to do that. I could definitely see her doing that. And I would be proud of it. I wouldn't discourage it. It's a gift that she's got. And, if she wants to continue to work on that and develop leadership through that, I think it's fantastic.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question I was going to ask you is about disabilities.
Okay.
And apparently you're working with me, but have you ever worked with people with disabilities, and are you willing to work with people with disabilities?
I mean, absolutely. I think that we all have gifts, and we all have something to contribute. And just because you may be limited in one thing doesn't mean that you can't go, above and beyond in another. And obviously, you're proving that right now by doing the interviews, which is amazing. So, absolutely, I would. I understand. I'm not going to say I understand to be in certain situations, especially from birth. I do understand what it's like not to have control, not to feel like you have control of your situation, though, and how stressful that can be. Unfortunately, I let it get the best of me mentally for quite a long time. And, I'm fortunate that I got a grip back on myself and that I was able to push forward, and I'm in the position I am now where I just decided to go after, what my passion is and not let it hold me back. So.
No, absolutely. Now, when you first joined the Marines, what was your mindset like? Like what, I asked you, who influenced you, what influenced you, but what was your mindset like about going into it? And after leaving the Marines, did you still think the same, or did you have any self-doubts about it?
Well, I used to be real timid as a kid. I did have a chip on my shoulder going in. But I seen those leadership traits and those characteristics from Marines and knew I wanted a part of it. And I was very disorganized when I went in. I was I was lacking direction. I was very undisciplined. So, as I went in, I started to develop those character traits, some of which some of which were a lot more difficult to obtain than others, leadership being one of them. It took me several years, if not almost the whole time in the Marine Corps before I really felt like I was an effective leader. I was very fortunate to have some Marines around me that really stepped up to the plate at the time, being Sergeant Sinclair, and Sergeant Hall, now Staff Sergeant Sinclair retired, and I'm not sure where Sergeant Hall is now, but and many others. My master gun's upstairs, watching him. Sergeant Rodriguez upstairs. I had many influences that helped me, along the way. I seen how they handled things. I seen how they acted. I seen how they looked after their people. I see how they led from the front, and I very much wanted to be the same way, and eventually was able to develop that in myself. So.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question I was going to ask you is, do you think most of the retail managers and any organizations should go through like leadership training or military training to be a little more, not sensitive, but a little more have an idea of what the hell they're doing? And the second question I was going to ask you is, what do you remember what you were doing on September 11th?
I do remember what I was doing on September 11th. It was 6 months before I went in. I was right out of high school. I was remodeling with my dad, actually, and I was putting a kitchen in, and the customer turned their TV on, and of course we were all blown away. At that time, I was actually supposed to already have been in the Marine Corps. I was held up at MEPS. But no, that left a pretty big impact on me. That, our country was, I'm basically under attack. And, I knew what I wanted to do before September 11th, of course. But that kind of reinforced the fact that I needed to step up to the plate and be a part of putting an end to that, and to being a part of the solution, for our country, and I wanted to be a part of it. So,
now, would you say that 9/11 kind of gave you more extra motivation of saying you want to serve your country, you want to protect your country? Do you think it gave you that extra edge of saying, you know what, now I have something to fight for besides my family?
I do it to an extent. I always felt like I felt for a long time that I wanted to go in, and I wanted to fight, and of course my job was non-combat. I inquired about changing that a few times before hitting the fleet. Of course, that didn't work out. I already had a contract, so I don't know that it gave me extra motivation. It kind of it just reinforced what I already felt, and that I needed to be a part of, the military, and be a part of something that makes this country great, and that's so many people willing to sacrifice, and go out and be a part of it. So.
No, I agree with you 100%. Now we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I'm going to ask you 3 more hard-hitting questions and going to pass the show over to you.
Okay, excellent.